Another IDA meeting. We're gonna start with a roll call. Okay, so we have present today, we have Christina Amato.
Yes.
We do not have Michael Kelly, Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
and we have Yanya Pearson.
Yes.
Okay,
Not Teresa.
we do not have Teresa at the moment. She might be coming in at any moment now, I believe. Okay, so we also sent proof of notice of both the meeting and the retreat that was held today. The retreat was held from 12 to 5 p.m. and the meeting started a little bit after 6:05, 6:07. So that's that. Moving on to item number 3. This is for the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting and also the special board meeting. So the meeting that was held on May 15th and the meeting that was held promptly after that on May 22nd. So does anybody have anything to say regarding the minutes of those meetings?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna need a motion to approve,
Both of them or one?
Should do one.
one at a time.
I move to approve the minutes for the May 15th regular board meeting.
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained? Opposed? All right. And then I'm gonna need a motion for the approval of the May 22nd special board meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes for the May 22nd special board meeting.
I second Chrissy Amato.
All right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Abstained?
I'm abstaining, so.
All right. So, quickly moving on to the 4th item here, which is the treasurer's report.
Thank you. I have the treasurer's report for the June 12th IDA meeting, City of Newburgh. The operating account began with a balance of $142,059.59. During the course of the month, there were deposits totaling $11,598.23, as well as checks totaling $6,951.52. We had outstanding checks from the prior month in the amount of $2,375.30 that cleared during the month, bringing the total closing balance to $144,331 even. Payroll account began with a balance of $101,618.32. During the course of the month, there were total payroll expenses in the amount of $12,070.90, bringing a closing balance of $89,547.42. The applications fund began and closed with the same balance, $14,137.50. The lesser tenant account began and closed with the same balance, $2,400. The labor monitoring account also began and closed with the same balance, $15,000 even. However, the money market account did begin with a balance of $4,781,382.42. We earned interest in the amount of $13,590.92, bringing the closing balance in the money market account to $4,794,973.34. I'll entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Sorry, say that one. It was Chrissy first and then.
And then
Yanni.
Yanni.
And then I'll entertain a motion to pay our bills.
I move that we pay the bills. Gregory Nato.
Second,
I second
that's Chrissy.
Chrissy Amato.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thanks, Marlon.
Thank you for that, Adam. Okay, so Sheriff's Man's report. I ran into the developers of the Foundry again, and I just as casual here in Newburgh, one of the local businesses, and it was just by chance. And so I brought it up last time that we want to get a tour, right? So they're definitely looking forward to that. They're really actually happy that we come out and see their work. So they brought that up again. On top of that, they actually want to talk with me and us about potentially maybe doing other stuff in the city. And they own other properties, and they understand that there's a lot of activity happening in Newburgh, and they don't want to miss out. So there's so there's a pending conversation. Other than that, I also ran into, this is small, I haven't had like a formal meeting with these people, it's just kind of like by chance, and not in an ideal environment, it was more like quick conversations every single time. So I ran into Philippe and I asked him a little bit more about a timeline. I wanted to get an understanding of where he is at right now with his project. With it, basically, I wanted to know if there's anything outside, what's the timeline really? What are we looking at? And essentially, as we know, we had the application for that grant, right? And it seems from the explanation that that's a very crucial part to the project. So I would like to send an invitation to him for a actual like formal explanation to what stage they're in, and a timeline. I want to know where these projects that we're spending time in, where they're standing, and I actually, obviously I want to see them progress, right? So there's an obvious change in finance world compared to when the project started, but then the question for me is it something that the developers maybe taking a little longer than they should? Is it a lack of experience, or is it something that was or could have been helped along the way in the red tape that comes with developing in the city? So I'm very interested in that, and it's actually a conversation that I want to have with the developers of the Foundry to see what their experience was developing in Newburgh, to get some real formal insight as to how it was. And obviously, in the efforts of getting better and improving processes, I find it really important, being that it's basically the biggest almost completed project that we worked on. So that's basically the extent of updates that I have. Yeah. So on to item number 6. Council's report.
Thank you. I just have one personnel issue, which we talked about. Catherine Kemp has left Whiteman Osmond, unfortunately. We wish her well at her new firm. I will introduce, probably in September, someone else that be available if I'm not able to attend the meetings. And Scobie Drive, we did do the extension. You've signed it. I've sent it out to their council. So hopefully by the end of the month, that'll be fully executed, and I'll provide you with a copy. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you for that. So on to item number 7, the executive director's report.
Well, we were just here 3 weeks ago, so I don't have much from 3 weeks ago. I don't really have anything new. I reached out to the project that we had, the City Club, wondering when they would attend, because there was something in the news for them, but it seems that they won't be available to come anytime soon. I think they're still working out some of their other processes, like with whatever approvals that they still need, so they're not in a rush to come here. That and just have been speaking to a lot of potential projects and probably I would imagine by the time we meet in September, we would have some new ones to consider. So I think I spent
Plural.
yes, so we'll see. And that's all I have. I'm sure it'll be a lot more come September, but it hasn't been that long.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Just one question with the Philippe situation. Did we issue, I think we voted to issue something. So
Yeah.
was he saying it's pending or?
No, the last thing we did, what they requested from us was a support letter.
Support letter, right.
The letter of support, and we found that there was no better support on our part than to approve a pilot,
Mhm.
right? That's kind of like the strongest form of support that we have for a project. So we did do that. It was explained to us that it's in the search of a grant, all right?
Mhm.
My question from where I'm standing is, I doubt that was the original plan, right? Because it wasn't part of the conversation, so is this part of the process in the search of finance in the developers, for the developers? Or was this in addition to, but what does it really mean overall? How close are we to the finish line is what matters to me. So, that's why I have such an interest on this particular project. I don't remember the date, if anybody can remember the date when we approved this, but is it over 2 years?
Close to, I was just trying to think, it's close to 2 years. And at this point, if he moves forward, when he moves forward, we'll probably have to amend some of the documents because they were tied to the expiration of the lease was tied to the expiration of the pilot, which didn't kick in for 2 years. So I think he's past that now. So we'll have to do a couple of amendments, which will require board approval.
So to that point, and you just reminded me of something, another thought, which is the original plan that was proposed versus what it maybe is now. A lot of times you get a developer come in, this is the great idea, but it doesn't always exactly come out to the thing. So I want to know how far or how different it is from the original. And maybe a question would be, if it's too different from the original thing, does that require for us to do a reassessment of this thing?
It would. I mean, do you want me to reach out to his counsel?
Yeah.
Do you have any indication that it's different? Have you
No,
heard anything?
I don't, that's the thing, I want to know. I don't want to assume, I want to be informed. And from there, if it's something that maybe nobody should be concerned about, or maybe it is, what I don't want to do is be in a position where now we have something different moving forward without us like knowing the details.
Well, I will just say that he's applying for the Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund, and that's probably what he's waiting for, and I'm trying to see if I can figure out what the date is that you have to apply by. Applicants need to be submitted by July 28th. So I don't know when they make their decisions, how long it's gonna take them to make their decision. But I would imagine that you'll find out after July 28th.
But we've supplied him with what he asked for.
So far, yeah, we've definitely assisted
Mhm.
for the development project, so that's where I stand in that project overall, so.
So if he don't get the loan, then
Exactly.
He
I
has to come to us and explain
Yeah.
he's not doing the project at all,
also
or
he had.
he hasn't started, so he maybe wouldn't, if he really needs this grant and he doesn't get it, then they may abandon.
or maybe morphs into something different. You know what I mean? That's a great
What
point.
happens in that case if somebody just doesn't
pursue their
pursue their
project.
benefit.
So you can decree in a resolution that the project's been deemed abandoned. And you can do that at any time after, I would say, after the construction period is supposed to be complete, which is rapidly approaching.
Yeah.
And that's why if he does move forward with a plan, it's been so long, I would recommend that you re-adopt the resolution, make sure that you look at all the findings, that they're still appropriate, and that the requirements and the recapture events still apply.
Okay. Yeah, that's basically, yeah. So that's that, that was part of the, I dragged on the executive director's report section, but thank you for the question. But I think we should be thinking like this, right? We should just, helping the development, but also questioning the where the state, what stage they're in. Okay, so on to new business. Sherry, you wanna help me out with this one?
Yep, RFP for agency website, resolution 2023-0212-01. That is for you all to allow me to request proposals. Attached Exhibit A is just an example of one that's been done in the past, but ours will be different, and I'll go over that with Bob. My hope is that we can ask for proposals, and then maybe by the September meeting, we would have something to vote on. I can make the period like a month, and then see what I get back. Maybe I know you're interested in this process. If we want to make it the same committee where the two of you, we could review the two with you, the responses, and then maybe by the September meeting vote on the choice.
Maybe make,
Anybody else that would like to join? That'd be
make
fantastic.
the open period longer than a month, just because everybody's sort of traveling in summertime.
Sure.
To make sure that we really capture.
Yep, and I'll send it to you all, and I know trying to find somebody local to do it was a point the last time, so I'll send you guys the link, and then if you know it to anybody, just let them know, and then, yeah, hopefully we get some local responses.
So basically, at this moment, we need a resolution to approve for the agency to look for an RFP for the website design.
Okay, I have a question. We're not looping the logo into this, right? We already
You done?
decided on the logo.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
This is just an example.
Yeah. Oh, my.
Okay.
Yeah, slowly but surely I'll
Okay.
start
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
inputting into the document.
So we need a motion
I will make a motion to,
for RFP.
for resolution number 2023-06-12-01, authorizing the agency to issue a request for proposals for the website.
I'll second that.
Okay,
I'll do a roll call. Marlon Ramos,
yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes,
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester, and Yania Priester.
Yes.
This next one's an exciting one.
Mm-hmm, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Resolution 2023-06-12-02 is an RFP to engage a consultant for UTEP analysis. So as I messaged the board before, I've reached out to 2 different firms, actually 3 different firms, only 2 actually do that work. And out of the 2, 1 stood out, NDC. So that would, and you all have received copies of both proposals as well, and what the work encompasses. So that would be my recommendation.
In DC.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the name of the company again?
NDC,
yeah,
National
yeah.
Developers.
Between the two
Yeah.
presentations, it was the
Yeah.
more thorough of the.
Mhm.
Yes.
And covered the topics that we really want to have
Yeah.
analyzed.
Did anybody have any questions about this? All right, yeah, I think we did a
No,
good job
just
getting
glad we did.
information, yeah, and yeah, we're moving closer. Okay, so I'm gonna need a motion to approve resolution 2023061202.
I move that we approve resolution 2023-06-12-02.
And I'll second it.
Do a roll call. Molly Rimos.
Yes.
Christina Amato. Michael Kelly is absent. Adam Pollock.
Yes.
Gregory Nato.
Yes.
Teresa Priester.
Yes.
And Yanya Pearson.
Yes.
Maybe Bob wants to talk on next one.
So the next resolution is to amend just one provision of your investment policy. The bank that you selected raised an issue regarding the use of a letter of credit. As you know, that all your deposits have to be collateralized, and the general municipal law allows for the collateralization to occur with eligible securities, which are essentially stocks and bonds, or a letter of credit. And there's two provisions in the letter of credit, and this section of the general municipal law, well, the entire general municipal law is not written very clear in some respects, but this section has a couple of different provisions for letter of credit. Your current policy referenced a revocable letter of credit and did not reference the irrevocable letter of credit. And so the bank asked for a clarification so that the irrevocable letter of credit, in lieu of an eligible security, to a federal home loan bank, which apparently they are, they can provide you with a irrevocable letter of credit of only 100% of the value. So it's not any more than what the face value is of your deposit, but they have to provide you with an irrevocable letter of credit for at least 100%, so that the legislature has determined that you're protected. So what I did was I changed section 2 to provide for the revocable letter of credit, and then section 3 I added to discuss the irrevocable letter of credit. I also added a provision saying that in all cases, the provisions of section 10 of the general municipal law will govern the agency's deposits. So there's clearly no, any dispute. If there's ever a dispute with a lender, what covers it's section 10. I did chat with Chair, and it's been a while since we really looked and revised at this policy robustly. So if it's okay with the board, I'm going to do that, and at your meeting in December, we'll have a new policy. And there's nothing wrong with this policy, it works, but there was one gap, and I want to make sure that there are no other gaps.
Chair, does this cover the question, the discrepancy that we had come up with the letters and the percentage and the number that we were covering versus not covering? Okay.
So when we're covered 100%, that's,
So the general municipal law recognizes that you have all deposits are covered by the FDIC up to
Right.
250.
okay, no.
And the rest of section 10 says, okay, but you're a municipality. You have to make sure that you protect the public assets, public money. So you have to collateralize those deposits. So banks that accept municipal funds are used to providing some sort of collateral, usually by the way of eligible securities, stocks, bonds, and there's a percentage. It's usually 104, in some cases in the GML it's 125. So you're well protected. Okay. There is a special carve out for federal home loan banks, which apparently Landmark is.
Like, this is TD.
Likely, or is it
This
TD?
is TD.
This was TD. That it says that if they can provide in lieu of eligible securities, so that's real money.
Okay.
That's real money to a lender. That's
Okay.
investments that they have to park over here that they can't really use. And so the trend really, even on construction projects, has been an irrevocable letter of credit in lieu of a surety bond. So you can take in lieu of an eligible security, a surety bond, which tends to be very expensive, or an irrevocable letter of credit. That's at 100%. So it's irrevocable, it's to you. It's at 100%, so you get, to the extent that, the money is gone for some reason, you just tap into the letter of credit and you have your deposit back.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know.
Protection of our.
I did not know that. That there was another level of protection for these, okay, great. All right, so I'm gonna need a motion for the approval of the revision to the investment policy.
I move that we approve resolution 2023-06-12-03, revision to investment policy.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Juan Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester,
Yes.
and Yanni Pearson.
I'm gonna abstain because I haven't read it well enough.
Okay.
There's things I don't understand, so I need to give it time.
Sure thing. That motion carries. So, okay.
Do we have to do the next one, or you said we don't have to do the next one?
I'll let Bob.
What was number 4,
Yeah.
you do not have to do. And the reason being, when you, the resolution that was drafted for appointment of TD and
Lakeland.
Lakeland, I don't know why I want to say Landmark, Lakeland. There was a provision at the end before the take effect provision that allowed the chairman to take all reasonable action to effect the resolution, which is to open the account. So there's no reason, we don't need a resolution for bank account signatures, you already have that.
Okay.
And so if there's any missing signatures, or if you need additional signatures in the future, as long as you're with those 2 banks, that resolution covers you.
Okay,
So that's why we didn't do that.
okay. We have 4 people that can sign?
Yes.
All right, so we can skip that one and move on to the next item. Sherry, you want to lead with that one?
We have Kristen here, but I'll let Bob.
Oh, Bob.
So I'll
Please,
start
please do, yeah.
off. So this is in connection with 191 Washington. We discussed this at the last board meeting, the fact that before you can consider an approval, that you need to adopt a secret resolution. At the request of the developer who's here, they requested that you do so. And as we talked about, that the zoning board of appeals had done an uncoordinated review. And so to date, the planning board had not done any review as of now, right?
Well, Ally Church, when I spoke with her, she said that they issued a resolution to be lead agency, but that I think that application was considered maybe abandoned
Right.
because the
That
applicant
was
didn't pursue it further at the
Thank
planning
you.
board level.
Thank you, Kristen. So the board authorized last month to have Kristen's firm do the seeker review for you. And so I'll turn it over to Kristen.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Kirsten O'Donnell, Lincoln Tully Engineering. I have provided for you drafts of, let me start with the application, of part 2 of the full EAF and part 3 of the full EAF, that's environmental assessment form. The applicant themselves provided the part 1 of that document, which provides a lot of the project information. So the part 2 essentially flows from the responses. I won't go through all of this detail with you because you probably don't have to do this very often, so you don't need the full lesson in seeker. But so the part 2 responses essentially identify the magnitude of a potential impact. These responses flow essentially from the part 1 that the applicant provided. So any potential impacts identified in that part 1, then you evaluate the magnitude. Some of that was the only significant environmental impact identified in this potentially significant is impacts to historic resources. The site is in the city's historic district. So I've done a little bit of research to try to make this evaluation complete. In that there were some other potential impacts identified in that part 1. One of them was it's in within so many feet of a brownfield site, for example. So that information comes from the DEC website, so I pulled some other readily available environmental information to try to make sure that we kind of cross our Ts and dotted our Is. That's kind of the difference in seeker when you're the lead agency versus when you're just an approving agency. When you're just the approving agency, you can kind of just deal with your own wheelhouse, right? You're dealing with IDA matters, but when you're the lead agency, seeker requires you to kind of take a hard look at all of the impacts based on this document. So you can see as you go through the part 2 that there's only one, like I said, only one impact identified as potentially significant. We then went ahead and filled out the part 3, which, as you can see in the rules, just requires you to elaborate a little bit further on that potential impact, which again is the historic district. So we did elaborate a bit more on that. The applicant provided some renderings of the site. I did pull the file for this project, for this site in the State Historic Preservation Office website, so we can identify the site as non-contributing, which I don't know how much this board deals with historic buildings, probably a lot, because you have a lot of them and you have a big district. But non-contributing means that this building isn't necessarily historic in and of itself. But the applicant did provide renderings to show that that some of the key features were going to be retained. It was my understanding, again, through speaking with Ally Church, that this project still has to go to the Historic Commission. So I didn't want to necessarily come to a conclusion on that. We want to kind of allow the Historic Commission to come to their own conclusion there, but at the very least, we can confirm that the applicant did the analysis and they did provide the renderings that you typically look for a seeker. So after you go through the part 2 and the part 3 forms, then you get to kind of your conclusion document, which is your negative declaration. That is a statement that this board does not believe, I know it's a double negative, which is odd, but does not believe that the project before you will have any significant adverse environmental impacts. So no further environmental study will be required. So that's essentially what you're saying with the adoption of this resolution for a negative declaration. You essentially have project information, and then you have the reasons or your findings, reasons supporting your determination. And again, you'll see that finding related to the location in the historic district. You'll see some of the other findings that I prepared based on the some of the other database information and some basic material. That's kind of based on the way that state environmental law is written. It asks kind of, it goes through this list of questions related to habitat, related to surface water or threatened endangered species, various things like that. So I kind of went through that with all of the conclusions. And of course, your one conclusion that you are used to making is that there is cost benefit analysis prepared, which concluded that the overall fiscal benefit to the project would be positive. So that's probably the only one you're used to making, but the others I provided for you. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. That's about as fast as I've ever gone through seeker.
Oh my goodness, I know.
It's a lot of information. It's a lot of information, probably very quickly. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
You guys did the seeker analysis you've already gone through with the zoning board. You've already come to
so
a negative declaration.
I personally did not, so no, well, let me back up. First, I did not represent the zoning board.
Okay.
Secondly, area variances, which this application required, are type 2 actions, so they wouldn't have required this type of analysis.
Okay.
So with a type 2 action, you kind of just list the reason why it's type 2. Area variances just happen to be type 2 under seeker, so they wouldn't have had to go through this.
Okay. And are there any other agencies that they have to go through seeker with? Planning board?
So if they are required to go, so what I didn't want to do is I didn't want this board or me, because I don't work for the city. I didn't want us to be making conclusions on behalf of other agencies.
Correct.
Such as the building department or the planning board. So I was kind of careful, you'll see that in, I think it's conclusion maybe number 1, yeah, that I did not have this, I don't think that this board should be kind of saying, yes, you're consistent with zoning, yes, you need this or that. I think that that's better left to the building department and the code enforcement official to make those determinations. So
no, I agree. I just want to know, do any other agencies?
do they?
We don't know
I would
yet.
think that they do, but again, that's something for the building department to identify. It kind of depends on the details of the project.
So,
I do believe, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, don't finish,
I
I'm sorry.
said, I do believe that they are required to go to the historic commission, and that's because Ally Church
Yeah, so-
kind of let me know that.
So, I mean, echoing Kristen, for the planning board to make a determination, and issue permits for, or make a determination that the permit should be issued, they have to make their own secret determination before. And then that will encompass a lot more, because really your role here is approving
Understood.
financial assistance. And Kristen's done an excellent job.
I'm not, I don't wanna review any of them, I
Focus
just
in on
wanna
that.
know how many
What
other secret
what planning,
analyses are
you know,
going.
and so, you know, you engaged an expert, and Kristen has done that for you.
Yeah.
The planning board needs to go into
Mhm, the
more, including historic designations, but also what else is involved in the construction of the project. Your piece is just
Just
this
financial.
financial assistance.
Yeah, no, I agree, I just wanted to know if there were simultaneous seeker analyses going on at
So,
the same time.
As we talked about at the last meeting, this is, and Kristen, when we chatted, agreed, this is extraordinarily unusual.
Yep.
But based on the regulations, what you're doing is within the regulations, within the regulatory scheme. And, you know,
Okay, no,
you can proceed.
yes,
Yeah, I would say that none, I mean, there are no simultaneous seeker analysis, that's, that would, for a type 1 action, that's when you have to coordinate, that's what you see, uncoordinated review, Bob mentioned uncoordinated review, that's based on the scale of this project. You're kind of able to do a seeker review in an uncoordinated manner, so this agency can do its own. I was kind of told by this, again, by Ally Church, that the planning board required more information that the applicant didn't have at the time, so that's why they didn't pursue any additional analysis there at that time.
the reason that I asked the question is sort of two or threefold. Are we the only ones opining on seeker? Are we the only agency, which it doesn't sound like we are? And if there are others, we're coming to a negative declaration, which I think is appropriate for what our purview is. I was just curious if there have been others, if they were also coming to negative declaration, or if there are, other things. But within our purview and within what we are supposed to do, I completely understand. I just was sort of looking at the bigger picture and the
Yeah.
precedent being set by other agencies as well in uncoordinated review, which I understand we're doing. But that's fine.
Can we ask Eric if he needs to add anything? I mean,
Yeah.
since you're here.
Yeah, I don't need to add anything, but I know we do need, or planning board would do its own secret review.
Mhm. Do you have a sense of timing yet?
We need this to get financing and then financing to basically rehire, architects and engineers and whatnot. Hopefully the next few months.
Is planning the lead agency?
No, they haven't.
They haven't declared it yet?
No, the application was kind of considered abandoned, so I mean, based on this review, you're the lead agency.
Oh,
Or we lead agency.
That's why, like I said, that's why you have to kind of go through a bit more than you typically would do. When you're the lead agency, you have to look at kind of all of the potential impacts in that part 1 that the applicant gave you. So that's why there's findings related to wetlands and habitat and things you don't typically deal with, because you are in fact the lead agency in this particular case.
will we remain the lead
Right,
agency or
that was
does
my
the
next
planning board at some point?
Well, if it's uncoordinated, in furtherance of the uncoordinated review, they will do their own version. There
Yeah.
won't ever be a lead agency.
I would
There'll be-
think, I would think that, well, there has to be a lead agency, that's why this, so like, if you see the documents, they all say like, this should be prepared by the lead agency, so someone has to be lead agency, as no one else took on that responsibility here, you have taken it on, so that otherwise you would be unable to act. So kind of the intent of seeker is that the review is kind of all done at once.
Mhm.
So that's why it's kind of assuming that there is there has to be a lead agency because
Right.
someone has to be taking on.
So
kind of
under
this-
that auspice of being lead agency, normally you would send out to interested agencies and they would opine. If in fact we stay officially lead agency, then it sounds like the planning board wouldn't do sort of their own uncoordinated. If we declare a neg deck right now, then that kind of is the determination letter throughout the other agencies and they wouldn't have to go through secret.
That's
Right.
essentially the process for a coordinated review.
Mhm.
Again, for larger projects over 10 acres, well, this isn't a historic district, over 2.5 acres of disturbance,
Mhm.
you would be required to do that. Yes, you would be required to send, your intent lead agency would have been required to be
Right.
circulated to any other permitting agencies, those are fully involved, and also interested agencies. The documents would have been required to be circulated. The part one of the EAF would have had to been circulated to make sure that everyone was making decisions under with the same environmental information.
Right.
And all together in kind of a coordinated review.
That's coordinated.
That is a
Or
coordinated review. This is an
uncoordinated.
uncoordinated review, so you are not based on the scope, the limited scope of the project, you're not required to coordinate, that's why it's that word, with all these other agencies.
Okay.
The planning board will have to go through seeker, just like any other agencies, for example, I mean, they don't, but if they required like a DOT permit or something from the state, those agencies they have the ability they have the ability to look at this document and say, this covers us, yes, we agree with this. But, the planning board likely will want to investigate some other items a bit further, probably with respect to zoning, for example. So could they, under seeker, they could adopt this document, they could support your negative declaration.
Mhm.
They probably will want to piggyback on that a bit more, or they'll say, who is Kristen, we don't want her, we want our own planner to do our evaluation, because they feel more comfortable, and that's fine too, because that's, it's an uncoordinated review.
Okay, so we're not stepping on anyone's toes by.
Yeah, that's why I reached out to Ally Church in the first place, because I did not want, twofold. I did not want the applicant to go to the planning board and say,
We have a neg deck.
I have this,
Yeah.
God, take my building permit now.
Yeah.
I didn't want that to be able to happen. I wanted to make it very clear that there are other steps in this process, whether you choose to adopt this or not. Also, I reached out to her because I wanted to make sure no one on the planning board would think that this board is trying to kind of subvert them or undercut them or do anything kind of besides what you're trying to do, which is take action and support this project, and do it the most legally sound way that you can. So I think that that's the objective. I wanted to just make sure that no one would feel that way, or that there wasn't some kind of underlying something going on that I was unaware of. I want to make sure that, no board is gonna think that there's something going on strange, because it is a bit of a strange process, or unorthodox, I guess, more than strange, but no, she didn't seem to think that anyone at the planning board level would have any issue with us moving forward.
Okay. That's good.
And does everybody remember how we ended up here? Okay, just making sure. Okay, it's not.
Now?
No, in this particular resolution,
It's been a long day for the family.
it's been a long day. So I'm
Need a
asking,
motion?
yeah, need a motion?
I will make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-06-1205, determining that the action to undertake a project for the benefit of 191 Washington Street LLC will not have a significant effect on the environment via a negative declaration just from the IDA.
I second that. Okay, do a roll call.
An uncoordinated review.
Marlon Ramos.
Yes.
Christina Amato.
Yes.
Adam Paulus.
Yes.
Gregory Nato.
Yes.
Teresa Priester.
Yes.
Yanni Pearson.
Yes.
And Kelly Johnson.
I will give you a final, I will remove the watermark, I will send you a final negative declaration, I will send you a signed copy of this part two, with my signature on it, and then the chairman will need to sign it as well. So
Great.
I will give you all of those documents.
I think it says just, anyway, oh yeah, just make that an I.
Oh, I
And then you're
apologize.
just, no. And, okay, thank you.
All right, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go on to the next, for the retail finding resolution.
So again, this is in connection with 191 Washington, and if you recall what you did with the Foundry project and then also 104, because it's primarily or largely residential, there has to be a commercial component or a commercial component or residential that would lead to more commercial development. And so similarly, this resolution finds that because it's consistent with the overall city plan, it's an historic district, and bringing in families to the area will lead to more commercial development because those families will have other business needs, requirements for secondary, tertiary, commercial. But unlike really the Foundry, and even unlike 104, this has at least a substantial plan for commercial development in a brewery, which will have jobs.
And
then-
there's other.
And there's other commercial space as well. So, you know, I think you probably could have approved or considered approval of the project without a retail finding, commercial retail finding, but I think that it buttresses a little bit because it's a good project for that purpose.
All right, so we need a resolution. We need a motion for this resolution.
I move that we approve resolution 2023-06-12-06, the retail findings resolution for 191 Washington Street.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll roll call. Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Mono,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priestman,
Yes.
and Robert Nania Pearson.
Yes.
Before we move on, there are two blanks in the resolution right now, and Eric, could you help me? Do you know how old that school building is?
1957.
When was the last time it was used, do you know?
We never got an exact date on it, but I think it's between 7 and 8 years ago now,
Okay.
maybe 8 years.
And then,
In 1958,
how large is the commercial space?
15,000.
I have your other, you're not,
It said 17,000 before we had stripped out hallways and
Okay,
common space and
so I'll
lobbies.
just add
no,
those.
that's
numbers. Thank you. Thank
you're
you.
missing
Yeah.
4.
Thank you.
Can we play a little bit of Go Fish? I have 205s. I'm missing the next one, 07. Does anybody have 207s?
I'm waiting.
I don't even have no one.
I mean, I can give you one of my 07s.
Here, I'll give you an 05 back. If anybody's missing an 05, there's an 05.
And I have extra 07.
You have an extra 06.
Well, there you go, I must have,
All of
I have an extra, oh, I had an extra 07.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Here. I just had an extra 05. I was not missing. Extra.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize Bob made the I didn't realize he added something and it changed the number, so you see where I crossed it out, made it a 6, and put it back to a 7.
Right, I saw that, yeah.
But resolution,
That was all on me, so I apologize for that. It was,
it is,
when Cher sent me the initial agenda, I completely forgot about the commercial findings. And it was, so, but that has to come before you can do this. consider this. Better late than never. It's been a busy couple of weeks. Number 7 is for your consideration is the approving resolution 191 I will spend a little bit of time with this. It goes through the application and all the public hearings that you've had and the deviation hearing that you had, which was also a public hearing. It does reference on page 4 the seeker resolution that you just approved, as well as the commercial retail findings resolution that you approved. It references the cost benefit analysis that you had done, as well as the test of reasonableness, and is part of the basis for the resolution, as well as the projected construction jobs and projected permanent commercial jobs, and the overall investment in the property, and what's estimated by the cost benefit analysis as the ultimate benefit over the life of the pilot of the benefit of by way of income and revenue to the city and the investment. And therefore, what the resolution determines is that the chair and the executive director can take all action to implement the resolution. We're appointed as special counsel to close on the financial assistance that you've determined that based on the application, the applicant intends to invest approximately $25 million, just a shade under $25 million into the project. That it will not, the completion of the project will not result in the removal of the project or facility from somewhere else in the state, which is a provision in the general municipal law that prevents anti-rating, so that communities are not trying to gobble up companies to move all around the state. That it's does not contain a project that's primarily used for retail sales. There's a little retail, which is fine, but it also will have other commercial and residential aspects to it. That you are requiring that the agency, that our agency documents will require the company to comply with the building department and all planning requirements. So to Kristen's point, they can't waive the seeker and say, here, I already have my negative deck, here, do the permit. No, we will require them to actually show us planning board approval before we close on anything. Special districts are not affected by the pilot. Okay, so if there's a fire district, water district, sewer district, ambulance district, they pay full freight on those districts. Pilots can't.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
So pilots are only for the real estate tax portion. So if there's a special district assessment for that particular property, do you know if there are any? Eric? Yeah. But if they had a fire district assessment, or a sewer district, a water district, or an ambulance district?
I don't think we have any of them in the city.
Probably not in the city,
Mhm.
but if you did,
Mhm.
you know. and
I know a
maybe
lot of small towns.
Small
around here,
towns and
but I don't
villages
think the
do,
city
but the
does.
city probably doesn't. But if there was, that would not be affected by the pilot. The districts pay full freight. They pay the full freight on the taxes for the district.
Except for the libraries. The library fees, or is that just part of the school tax?
I don't know how it's determined in the, but if there was a library district, that would not be affected by the pilot,
It's small, it's very small.
usually. I always laugh at libraries when one goes to the, although I went to one a month ago, so they use quiet time.
We have a lot of cool stuff going on at our library.
Yeah,
Cool
that's actually
programs.
true.
Mhm.
Hartsville, South Carolina has it very nice. No one's there, but it was very quiet. It does set forth the amount of projected financial assistance that you're approving tonight on page 8. Sales and use tax exemption of $652,000. The payment in lieu of taxes is approximately $5.3 million. The mortgage recording tax exemption is approximately $215,000. Now, these numbers potentially could change when they're ready, and if that's the case, we'll have to come back and do an amendment to the resolution. The projected pilot payments probably won't change, but the sales tax sometimes does change as the project continues. It authorizes us to enter into a leaseback arrangement, standard straight lease arrangement. They provide us with the agency with a bill of sale that allows you to go into title for the project. It sets forth the table at section 7 of the pilot that was the subject to the deviation hearing. And then just the most important one at the end is section 11, which says that the resolution is subject to the approval of the project by the planning board, and nothing can move forward until that occurs.
Okay, that's,
Pilot tax year, when is that initiated? After closing on this?
So,
Yeah,
right,
one.
it would usually be, not after closing, it usually is the first year after they complete the project.
Complete CR.
Oh, okay.
So, it's kind of complicated, but that's a great question. The state tax status year, day, is March 1st, okay? So let's say they complete the project in 2025. If they complete it in July, the first tax status day is March 1st of 26.
Next
So
year.
the first, when is the city tax paid? In January?
You mean when it?
4 installments.
Yeah,
November.
yeah,
When does it become a lien? January?
January.
Yeah,
I think.
after the last one.
January.
So if it was completed in the summer of 25, the first day that it would be on the rolls would be March 1st of 26. So the
It was completed
improve-
before
so,
March
and that
then.
would be, right, so that would be the tax on the improvements. The current tax based on the land, they pay
Already paying
going
that now.
forward, and they continue to pay that, whatever that is, they pay that. On the improvement, the pilot applies to that. But the first tax payment that it would be relevant to would be the July 1st school lien, which isn't payable until September of 26. Then in January 1st of 27, they would pick up the county tax and the city tax, and the city's paid over quarters, and the county is paid by January 31st. Okay, so then it would be 14 years from that first
The first one.
tax status date of March 1st. So if they complete it in 25, we would have the lease expire in 40. 2040. And I will not be here.
You'll be retired.
I will be retired.
somewhere warm.
I will be sitting on a beach.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the thorough explanation and revision of the process that we've gone through.
So the only two other items I would, the way we draft these, if you go to Exhibit A, that's the description of the expected public benefits, okay, that you have.
Right.
So you're retaining existing jobs, no, because the property is vacant, but you are creating permanent jobs. There is an estimated tax exemption, so we set that forth. You're creating construction jobs. There's private sector investment of approximately 25 million. You're creating new revenue. It's an adaptive reuse of a vacant building. You're creating regional wealth by the development of this property. It aligns with local planning. It promotes walkable community. This project is a perfect example of that. Elimination or reduction of blight. Anytime you're taking a vacant building and renovating it and adding to it, you're removing blight. You had overwhelming city official support at the public hearings. It's a historic building, and there is no brownfield remediation. So that's your expected public benefits. And then on Exhibit B, we include the recapture benefits, which essentially have all the construction jobs that they say they're supposed to achieve, they have to achieve them. They're supposed to achieve the employment levels as well. We give them a little bit of a break on the employment levels, in that they should create 80% of those employment levels. Okay, so, people come and go, and jobs sometimes don't always develop, so to hold them to 100% is a little bit unreasonable, but we usually peg it at 80%. If however they choose not to proceed with the project, or if they abandon the project, or they liquidate their assets, everything is recaptured. Okay, the sales tax, the mortgage reported tax, and then all the pilots. Okay, the sales tax you get a break on, and that all you have to do is demand it, and then it's up to tax and finance to go search them. And tax and finance is very good at that, so they have a whole system of that. The mortgage recording tax, we would send a demand letter for, and then the pilot is really up to the city. So your role ends by terminating the financial assistance, sending a demand letter for the recapture, and then you can move on to other things.
Well, let's hope that's not the case.
I've only, in 35 years, 37 years, I've only had to do it once. And the company wrote a check right away, which was great, because they abandoned the project, so they wrote a check. And then we didn't know what to do with the check.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder of the overwhelming positive support
Yes.
from the community and even from some of the local elected officials. That was good to see. So, I always like to open up to see if anybody has questions. But if not, we would need a motion for this resolution.
I move that we approve resolution 2023-06-12-07, the approving resolution for 191 Washington Street LLC.
I second Christina Amato.
And roll call, Marlon Ramos.
Yes.
Christina Amato.
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester,
Yes.
and Yanya Pearson.
Yes.
Carries.
Thank you guys very much.
Get it done.
Tell Keisha.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's been nice working with all of you. I feel like I learned a lot, yeah. And Sisha's wanted me to tell you guys he's sorry he couldn't make it. He had to go down to Chile to be with a ill family member, but he's bummed not to be here. But yeah, thank you guys. Looking forward to working together further.
We look
Yeah.
forward to really seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm not a beer drinker, but I'll go.
Everyone's excited.
Whenever you're breaking ground.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you go, whatever you get, you have to pay.
You have to say yes. I will, I will,
You got it.
of course.
No tips.
Yeah,
No.
thank
Best of luck.
All right.
All right, good luck,
Have a good night.
You too.
And certainly, if you have like social media or anything and you're tagging progress, and we should have social media too, tag us.
Yeah,
We-
you guys deserve credit for
We are
sure.
happy to be part of your process.
Cool.
It's a big
Thank you.
accomplishment.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Get it done.
We will.
Yeah, you will.
I'm excited. All right, so on to old business. Anything?
I just have one clarification question. So Mike has resigned, but we keep marking him as absent.
Because he serves until he's replaced.
Okay,
And-
okay, so he could still impact,
Yeah, I mean, we've had board members resign and stay on until the replacement was found. So you can't force them to come, but
The council was notified though, right?
yes, the executive office knows that we have a vacancy.
Executive office.
And I've asked them to share it and I've shared it too, so.
I have some people who are interested or who have reached out separately.
Mhm.
What do we do? Put them in contact with you or?
Nope, so it has to go through the executive office, so on our webpage, the instructions are there. They click on a link, they fill it out, they say what agency they're applying for, and then they will review all of the applications.
So we don't get to interview anybody?
Yeah.
That's, even if we don't get to decide or recommend, we can't
we can't.
review?
I think I think that
Each appointing agency, each appointing authority, I didn't mean to interrupt. Each appointing authority is different. Some will allow the agency to interview, some will not. Under a straight reading of the statute, it's their call.
Okay.
So you get a body, congratulations.
hopefully is one that, has a deep interest in this and I'm sure we can all relate that you don't need to actually know the ins and out of everything. We help each other along the way, but you just have to be really willing to.
That being said, there's nothing preventing the chair, any member, the executive director to go to the executive office and say, hey, this is the type of person we're looking for.
Right, that's a great,
This
that's
is
a
the,
great.
this is the type of time commitment we're looking for. We're growing, we're expanding. You know, we just don't want someone to dial it in, you know, based on what we talked about this afternoon.
So I have a question, so that second vice chair, can that become available immediately, or that still is like?
So Bob can correct me, but we really put that position in place because Chrissy didn't really want to be vice chair by herself, so then we kind of split the role, but historically for us as an agency, we've only had chair, vice chair, treasurer, secretary. So, and if she,
Well, it wasn't as much as that I didn't want it, I'm fine doing it by myself, but Mike also wanted to do it, so instead of picking one or the other, we sort of both did it, but historically, there's just a,
So it's okay.
yeah.
we're
And
not,
does it affect our quorum? If someone has resigned but still?
No, so under the statute, great question, good questions. Under the statute, your quorum is 4, because you have a body of up to 7. Your quorum is always 4. And also under the statute, you cannot pass a resolution as is not deemed passed until 4 members vote yes. Okay? So you can have and which has happened in some cases, you can have a resolution that's 3-0 and 4 abstaining. That's it, that does not pass.
Okay.
We need 4 members to vote yes.
Got it.
All right.
Well, missed you today. We had
Yeah.
fun and the food was good.
Actually,
We
that
got
food
some
was-
real talkers.
Perfect. Very consistent. Thank you for the great question. I was gonna ask a very similar question, and then ultimately my question was answered, so appreciate it. All right, so item number 10.
You gonna move?
I need a motion.
No, I think you should move.
I move that we adjourn the meeting. The final one of the season,
I need a
I might
second.
add.
Final one of the season.
second.
Any takers?
I'll second.
All right,
All right.
all in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining, opposed? All right, we're good.
Season.
Enjoy the rest of the night.